Where do you live, Neil?
Sunny Berkhamsted High Street.
You lucky boy. How long have you been there? Because you're not from there, you weren't born there, were you?
I was born in a little village called Flaundon, which is about, I haven't fallen very far from the tree, so Flaundon is about 7 miles from Berkhamsted, really. I kind of stayed around the area because of my mum and stepdad and looking after them and all that sort of stuff. So
Yeah.
so I've been in Berkhamsted for July will be 28 years,
28 years.
which
Bloody
is
hell,
pretty
mate.
scary.
Is it why? Is it
Well,
a scary area? It's a bit of a
It's
rough
a lovely
area.
area, but it's just one place for all that time.
Yeah.
You think, have you been adventurous or not? Probably not, but...
Well, you've been around a bit on your...
Oh, I travelled around the
Been
world.
around the block,
Yeah.
hey Neil?
This time last year I was on my way to India.
Were you?
Yeah,
With a camera in your hand?
with
or
a camera in my hand.
over your shoulder or
Yeah, I
something?
travelled on the Indian railway system.
Oh, right. Was this as a job or just... for
No,
that?
just as a trip. So I spent 17 days travelling from Calcutta all the way
Right.
to Amritsar. So it was about 2.5
Amritsar, is that where the Golden Temple
Yep.
is? Ah, so
Yep.
you visited it, did
Oh
you?
yeah, stunning, stunning. So we started. So yeah, first went to Heathrow, and then obviously
Right.
like you do. But what happened was we were meant to get the baggage system packed up on this Indian airline flight. So what happened was we were half an hour late, but when we got to the other end, we had to land in Mumbai, and then we had 2 hours in Mumbai to change to the internal plane to then fly into Kolkata.
Ah.
But because we only had an hour and we arrived there at 2 o'clock in the morning, we didn't get through customs in time and all that sort of stuff. So we went to put our new bags in the ongoing flight. They said, "Oh, sorry, sir, you've missed your flight." So
Right.
2 o'clock in the morning, we're stuck in Mumbai.
Nice place to be at 2 in
Well,
the
the
morning,
airport's
isn't it?
lovely, but you're thinking, I want to be in Calcutta.
Right.
So we said, well, when's the next flight? And they said, well, it's 16 hours time, sir. So we had to sleep on the bloody floor of the airport. And we were the only people there with a few bored shopkeepers.
Right.
What happens is, on a Saturday that time of year, they close the airport completely to,
So they were
to resurface the
Right.
runway because before the monsoon hits.
Ah.
So the whole airport's closed, so we couldn't fly up until early Sunday morning.
Oh, right. So how
So
did you
arrived-
entertain yourselves?
Sleeping, drinking coffee.
Oh, there was
Walking
access to
around.
coffee.
Yeah, I mean, all the staff were there, all the shops were open, but nobody else was there, just us.
No
for the flight
aeroplanes
was
taking
missed.
off or anything.
No, nothing. Dead as a doornail. And the whole airport's been rebuilt, and it's very like an airport with an art gallery attached to it, so it's very nice.
So what was the art gallery like?
Well, no, it was all tribal Indian art.
Right.
So it's really interesting, but after 16 hours it kind of went a bit thin.
Would do, yeah.
So we then got the flight and arrived in Calcutta 18 hours later than we should have been. And then
Did that matter huge? How long
Well,
did you
we
got?
had a free day in Calcutta, so we could have just had and Calcutta's great, you could
Is
have
it?
just had a nose around. So we had a day in Calcutta looking around the sites, and then joined the train that night, and then travelled from there to a place called Bodh Gaya, which is where the Buddha found enlightenment,
Oh.
Did you?
which is very interesting. I thought it was amazing. So I spent some time there, and then got another train up to Varanasi.
Right.
And Varanasi is possibly one of the most mind-blowing places I've ever been in my life.
Really?
No,
Why?
no.
It's just
why?
insane.
Is it?
Well, it's on the Ganges, and the reason it's on the Ganges and the
Oh,
reason it's there,
this is the burial
it's
place,
where
isn't
they
it?
burn all the bodies on the Ganges, 24 hours a day,
24 hours?
24/7.
And do their widows have to follow them in?
No, the widows stand away, and the men from the family, bring the funeral pile down to the Ganges. And what happens is it's really bizarre because they're covered in draped in marigolds and a gold
So it's
kind
quite
of
colourful, isn't it?
space blanket, and they're
Right.
brought down on a stretcher with all the male members of the family. So they walk it down. The ghats, they're called ghats, they're terraces, and on the terraces there's plinths, and on those plinths are piles of wood.
Yeah.
So what they do is they carry the body down to the Ganges, they submerge the body in the Ganges, they open up there in the linen, they open up the mouth, and because they have to ingest a bit of the Ganges, they then wash them down, take all the marigolds off from the gold, and then they put them on top of the pile. Then they cover the body in ghee, because ghee burns really well.
Does it? Right.
Yeah. And we were on a little boat out in the Ganges, and we started kind of about, I don't know, 30, 40 feet away. And your first reaction when you see this, and it was just about getting dusk,
Oh, yeah.
is I shouldn't be here. This is intrusive. This is,
Right.
you have this complete gambit of reactions, and none of them are good. But it's compelling,
Right.
and you think, I'm never going to see anything like this before in my life again. And if you've got to imagine all around it, there's other burials and burnings going on. So there's maybe 3 or 4 different fires going that are reflected in the water, and it's starting to get dark.
You had your
You can
camera
imagine-
going, I see.
Yeah, if you can imagine, all these buildings have been there for thousands of years, because Varanasi is probably the second oldest inhabited city in the world. But it was just spellbinding to see
Yeah.
this happen.
Yeah.
And there's odd things going around it, that all the cattle, there's cows walking around amongst it all on the steps, and the cows go down there because
They're highly regarded out
yeah,
there.
but
of course, aren't cows? Yeah.
they go down to eat all the marigolds that come down with the bodies.
Ah.
So they clear up all the marigolds. Then there's packs of dogs walking around as well, squabbling amongst themselves,
Right.
trying to drag bits of uncharred body out of the funeral fires.
Oh, right.
Then once that takes 4 hours for the body to burn, and then they shoot the whole lot in the Ganges. All the wood, the charcoal, the body, the lot, the bone. That's
Just gets shoved into the
they
river.
just shove the whole lot straight off the plinth, straight into the Ganges.
Where does it go? Is that quite a
Downstream.
strong current?
Yeah, no, it wasn't that strong, but it goes downstream from the Ganges. So
all these bodies
they
are
are rebirthed into the Ganges. So
Right,
all
I
these
see.
bodies
I
go
see.
into the Ganges.
But once they're in, there's not much left of the body,
No,
actually.
it's burnt,
Essentially
charred.
ashes, is it?
Ashes, pretty
Yeah.
much
Ah,
ashes,
right, yeah,
and
yeah.
maybe a bit of bone. But I think it means that 4 hours, they've worked it out over thousands of years, at least 4 hours is enough to completely expunge the body. But
Right.
to see it is quite
I bet.
amazing.
Did you film it or photograph?
Yeah, I've shot it. I've shot pictures of it.
Still images?
Yeah,
rather
still
than-
images. Yeah. But it's quite an amazing sight. And then this is going on day in, day out.
Yeah.
It was just a complete assault on all your senses. Just the wherever you are in India, it's just the volume of people.
Yeah.
So in Varanasi, it was just a tsunami of humanity, and it's the colours that Indians are not frightened of wearing colour.
No.
So they're so bright and vibrant colours. They're fantastic.
I bet.
And to get in, we came into the town by rickshaw, and you think, oh God, this is a bit bloody touristy, but it's the only way you can get in and out.
Is it?
It's the only way, because there's so many people, you can't get in or out unless it's on a rickshaw. Because it's just so rammed, and it's so polluted, because all these little scooters and little cars and tuk-tuks, and you can hardly breathe from all the pollution. Plus, coming out at night, just this overwhelming sense of mayhem and people and everything. It's incredible.
So it carries on through the night.
Yeah, it
as
carries
well.
on through the night. Yeah, the whole thing goes on through the night.
There's no let up ever.
No let up.
Is it a cheaper funeral if you go at night rather than
Well,
a day?
there's posh areas to get burnt, and there's
Oh, right.
and then there's areas that are more shabby to get burnt.
Yeah,
So I think
yeah.
there's a hierarchy on which ghat you're in,
Right.
or some of them are just little dirt patches by the river.
Just this way, that drop your chin that way. That's it. Okay, carry
That
on.
remain there.
Yeah.
So I went there and then went to the Red Fort in Agra, which is
Red
huge.
Fork.
The Red Fort.
Fort.
There's a Red Fort in Agra and there's a Red Fort in Delhi,
Oh,
and
right.
they're huge, great big fortifications. I mean, the scale of them is massive. You could just fit Buckingham Palace in a corner,
Wow.
Yeah,
What were they built
Windsor
for?
Castle.
and when?
The way they were built was forts for the defence of because India was all separate little principalities, and they were built for defence.
Against
Against the Moguls. and
warring
warring
factions.
hordes.
Yeah.
So just the scale of these places and how they were built, and it's all red stone, so it's quite amazing. And I've got some really nice photographs from there, but more like still lifes with brooms and things in rather than the whole place.
You ought to get some of these printed off, Neil.
I have.
You ought to do a book of your...
I'm doing a book at the moment, but it's not on just that, it's a book of something else. But so that was amazing, and then we went up to New Delhi. And
what are the trains like?
varying.
Are they? Were you travelling first class?
We weren't first class and we weren't stowage. We were kind of in the middle, but that kind of varied in between. But we only slept one night on a train. We had one night on the train. The rest of it we'd maybe arrive at 10 o'clock at night and get picked up by some tuk-tuks and taken to a hotel near where it was.
By some what?
Tuk-tuks, little three-wheeled taxis.
Anyway,
so we spent a bit of time in New Delhi.
Yeah.
From New Delhi we caught another train to a station.
I want to know about the train. Come on.
The train. Well, if you can imagine the trains.
Describe the hygiene levels, Neil.
What can
you don't have to go into that.
The thing is, you've got to think is that the Indian railway system is the most used transport system probably in the world, and so thousands of people a day are going through every part of the train. So it's just worn out and worn because of the thousands of people that use it. But it's well maintained, but it's just grubby because of thousands of bodies sleeping in it, going through it every day.
Did you get a seat?
Yeah, you get a seat booked. You have to book a seat. So seats are booked about 3 months in advance.
Yeah. Oh fuck! Really?
Yeah. On
is it quite cheap?
Long distance trains.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is quite cheap. Yeah. Well, I
imagine you were travelling pretty long distances.
Well, we did
quite a big country.
I think we did about 2,500 kilometres on the Indian railway system.
Wow.
Which is what, about 1,800 miles, something like that.
Ask Andrew, he knows more about that kind of thing.
I can't remember. It's a whole lot of miles.
Is it? Yeah.
It's a hell of a time. So it just the whole. It just basically it's all well worn. The loos. I found that the squat ones were cleaner than one side. You got a European loo,
right,
and the other side you got one with a hole.
Yeah.
But you find that the one with the hole is in fact cleaner than the one that people squat on. So you look down and
a basic business.
Basic business. You get in and out quickly as possible.
Really, you wouldn't hang around.
Wouldn't hang around. No. Wouldn't loiter. No,
probably not.
Plying a trade.
Don't wash your hands because of the water. But
you wouldn't wash your hands.
Well, no, because. All right, you use drinking water to wash your hands. You wouldn't.
The water's that unhygienic.
You've got to be really, really careful. Yeah, seriously careful.
Really?
Yeah.
So washing your hands, really.
Even to the point if you're in a restaurant, and they give you lots of different types of chutneys for your curry, you take the dry chutney. You don't take the runny chutney.
Just this way. Drop your chin. That way. That's it. Okay, carry on.
So from there we went to another train station about 30 miles outside New Delhi and caught a train to a place called Shimla.
Shimla, right?
Which back in the day of the Raj used to be called Simla.
That's right.
And Shimla.
That where you go up to the top of the hill.
That's where you go up to 2,500 metres, which is about 750 feet above sea level. And it's where the
English school is.
The English school and the government used to rule the country during the heat of the summer.
Wow.
And it's quite an amazing place. So it's a hill. It's essentially a hill station.
How'd you get up there?
By train. There's this little toy train that winds up the hillsides on like a rack and pinion over 4.5 hours. It takes you 4.5 hours to get up there in this tiny little toy train, tiny little carriages, and a steam train on the front of it. Jogs you all the way up through the valleys and all these beautiful sights. And we arrived at Shimla at about 9 o'clock at night. It was dark. Taking into account on the plains down below, it was kind of about 28, nice temperature, 28. 26, lovely. like a nice summer's day. We got out of the train at that end. There wasn't much heating in the train. We got out at the other end, and it was 9 below and snowing.
Really?
Were you prepared?
Oh.
I tell you, mate, it's the only time I've stood there and my teeth were chattering and I couldn't stop them chattering.
Oh, really?
So we got a minibus and they took us to the hotel, and we arrived at the hotel about 10 o'clock at night, absolutely bloody frozen.
God.
And the next morning we got up and the whole area was just completely coated in snow. And you've got to imagine that it's all pine trees and it's hillsides, and the whole of Shimla, we were a bit of a way out of Shimla, and you walk in, it all clings to a hillside. So all these houses just cascade down this hillside. And beyond that,
Oh, really?
you can see the Himalayas, mountains behind it.
Wow.
And it's an odd mixture of places, because if you can imagine that lots of, in early Victorian times, people were left home and they were trying to take their home with them, but they would perceive the idea of of home in architecture, and they would try to recreate the style of a Victorian house with local materials
Right.
in Shimla, for say. So for starters, it's got tin roof, but then they're trying to make it look like it's Elizabethan. So you've got kind of brick and stone and wood.
Yeah.
So they're trying to make Surrey in northern India.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just, the whole trip was quite amazing. And then from there we went up to the last day, we went right up to the Pakistan border.
Oh, right.
And there's a gateway between Pakistan and India. And every night they have this big procession where the Indians are one side, the Pakistanis are the other. And all the soldiers march up to the gate. A gate opens and they confront each other.
Really?
And they got these huge, great big plumed hats on and this big marching routine.
So theatre.
Theatre.
Yeah.
It's like being at a football stadium.
Really?
Absolutely bizarre.
Yeah.
And there, so that all that goes on. So one side you've got all the big group of Indians, hundreds of Indians, all dancing, have come up from the villages and they're all brightly coloured dancing. On the Pakistan side, there's one soldier chucking a Pakistan flag up in the air, but he's only got one leg. But I'd kind of wanted to go and start in Calcutta. It was all back to my father was there during the war. He was in Burma and India. So I'd kind of grown up with this background of him being in India and Calcutta. So I wanted to go and, because he died when I was 3, so I never really knew him.
Gee.
But I got all these sort of photographs and stories of, from the photographs. So you got this kind of background of India. So I wanted to go and see it for myself,
Beyond belief.
which was nothing disappointed. But I think I was going to go again. I'd like to go up to Rajasthan, the kind of desert areas right in the northern part of India.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. What were we talking about?
India.
India.
Oh, your old man.
Yeah, my dad. Yeah, no, he was over there. Luckily, he wasn't obviously caught in Burma, but he ended up in Burma and India.
Nothing to do with
He
the war.
had a melanoma,
Oh, fuck. Right. Yeah. Definitely.
which, to be honest, I think was probably skin cancer that he picked up being
Really?
in India.
Yeah. Quite
There's still
likely.
photographs of them all stripped to the waist and doing whatever, and I think nobody knew about skin cancer then.
Probably
It
not.
wasn't very recognised. So what happened was that he had a mole on his back and it started to weep and irritate him, so Mum said. And they went to see one doctor and the doctor said, oh, don't worry, he had a car and it would rub on the seat of the car.
Yeah.
And one of the doctors he went to see said, oh, don't worry about that, just put a plaster on it. It'll go away.
Put a plaster.
Yeah, he went and saw another doctor and they rushed him into Mount Vernon Hospital and he was dead within 2 months.
Oh.
Because it obviously metastasised and gone through his body. So he was gone. So I never really knew.
Do you have any memory at all?
None.
You were 3.
3.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the weird thing is that his main passions in life were
Photography?
photography and motorcycles.
Oh, really? Ha! Oh, right.
So, like father, like son. Yeah, one studio I used to work in, funny enough, it was in Berkhamsted, and there was a designers and they had a big photographic studio. And I ran the studio on a freelance basis for them for 2 or 3 years. But it backed onto a main railway lines from Birmingham to London. So if what you used to have to do was sometimes was multiple exposures to build up the exposure with still lines. So if you've got one shot, if you're doing one exposure, it might be f16 for the whole shot. But you needed to get the depth of field. You needed f64. You had to do one flash for f16. 2 flashes for f22, and then for f32 was 4 flashes, for f64 was 8 flashes. So you keep the lens open and you cover the lens flash.
Did you understand any of that, Brian?
No, but
You'd build the exposure up with a more, you couldn't achieve with one flash the depth of field you needed, so you had to build it up with lots of flashes. And you had to work out when trains were coming, otherwise it would jog the camera.
How did you cope with that?
Well, you'd have to wait until one train had gone past and hope that another one was coming.
Lots of swearing.
Which is rather boring.
God.
But it was in digital and it was all hooked up to a big Mac screen, so you could see if you had problems.
Right.
So it wasn't like you had to shoot another sheet of film.
What are these lenses that soft focus the background?
It's not soft focus. It's the depth. It's to do with the depth.
It
of
is.
field.
Oh, is that really right?
So if you've got to think, if you look at a subject and it's pin sharp from the background to the foreground, that's going to be f16. F16 is a very small aperture.
Right.
So that means that it's sharp from the foreground to the background.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
When you want to get it that the foreground and the background are out of focus, but the central point is in focus, you open the lens up. So if a lens goes to f2, say, f2 would be wide, the lens would be wide open, so everything would be sharp probably from here to here.
Yeah.
Right?
Ah, right. Yeah.
So you want to focus on the nose or the eyes.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
so
how it
that's
works,
how you
of course.
achieve depth of field.
Of course it is,
Yeah. So you can achieve it with that by shooting wide open, or it's kind of the way it works.
Right. Yeah.
But it makes it, just makes it far more dramatic. And some lenses are much better than others at dealing with depth of field and softness.
Yeah. That's all about depth of field. Of
All
course
about
it would
depth of
be,
field.
yeah. Of course it
It's
would be,
nothing to do with filters. But then you've got to think is if the aperture size is small, you're having less light coming through your lens onto your sensor, which means you've got to reduce the shutter speed.
Yeah, that's right.
So you've got to think of that. But one affects the other. The greater the wider the aperture, the faster the shutter speed. The smaller the aperture, the slower the shutter speed.
Yeah.
So with these cameras you can up the ASA as you go.
Mighty language.
I tend to use manual all the time.
Do you?
Yeah.
Is that because you know what you're doing, Neil?
Hopefully.
Yeah. Where do you learn your trade? You went to art school or something, did you?
No,
back in the day?
I just
Picked it up?
I'd think so. I just picked up a camera and thought, oh, I like this.
I'll have a go at that.
So I started at. I just learned. I just learned. Then I got a darkroom together, and when I was living at home in Flaundon, I don't know, I was about 17, so I'm 18, and I learnt to print really well, black and white. And I got my first job when I came back from Australia when I was about 21, 22. And I wanted to do it as a living, and I got my first job with a studio because I could print really good black and white. So I got a job in a darkroom that had a studio attached, and we ended up doing studio stuff and printing in a darkroom for publishers. And I stayed there for 4 years, I think, and get my foot in the door, and then a job I got made redundant, last in first out, no more than that. And I then had a brief spell of unemployment, not very long, and I got an advertising job. Well, I got a job from the back of the British Journal of Photography, which was for a studio for a photographer and darkroom technician in commercial photographers in Maidenhead. They took me on and I stayed there for 5 years, but we did everything. We had a big cove studio with a big round cove, so big enough to photograph, 3 Volvos in it. And I learnt, that's where I really learnt what everything was working for commercial photographers. Because it's all big boy stuff. And you're at baptism of fire, you're out doing it. And that's where you learn. You don't learn until you're doing it all the time. And that's where I learnt all about a lot of lighting and everything really. And then from there I went freelance. And
what prompted that decision?
Well, I think everybody else.
You got fired, didn't you?
No, I didn't get
For
fired.
incompetence.
I didn't get
It's
fired.
all coming out.
It's all coming out. No, I didn't get fired. It just came. I think Don, who I worked with, wanted to go freelance as well, and I could see that everything was wrapping up and changing. We found an old barn, which we converted into a studio in Chesham, and I took quite a few clients from the company I used to work for, and they came with me and started doing freelance work, and that was pretty successful for maybe 12 years. But it was all really during all the film-based time, was really because photography was still a bit of a dark art when everybody was using film. It still needed a great deal of knowledge. But as digital has come in more and more and more, it's the genie's out of the bottle, and
It's a lot easier.
Anybody thinks they can do it now.
Yeah, we do. Yeah.
And most people do it pretty successfully. But so the work has diminished as time has gone on, and I was still doing work, but so I used to do loads and loads of studio stuff.
Yeah.
For all sorts of people, building sets and doing adverts and a bit of portraiture, all sorts of things. And then I managed to sublet the studio because it was costing me too much. I had a lease on it, so I stuck with the lease. So I managed to sublet it to somebody else, and I worked from home. And then I got approached by a guy who's retiring who ran the studio for this design agency. And they took me on to do that still as a freelance, and I ran that for 2.5 years. But they were the real high end of digital photography, so I learned. I'd been doing digital photography, but they were real high end stuff. So that was another big baptism of fire and a learning curve to learn high end photographic digital stuff. And we were shooting things like the Boots catalogue and all sorts of things like that. And that's where I learned an awful lot about digital photography. High-end stuff. And then I'd been there about 2.5, 3 years, and the recession had hit a couple of years before, but they had a few clients fell away, and they suddenly thought, well, we're paying this chap too much. And the guy who owned the company, his son became involved in it and started taking pictures, and I got kind of ousted. And there's nothing.
not doing that, did you?
You can't compete against family. So
right.
one day you don't get a phone call anymore.
From a purely technical point of view, though, do you prefer the digital approach?
The immediacy of it, yes. And the more you do it, yes. I still think that film has a quality that digital hasn't obtained.
What is that then?
It's kind of.
There are people who prefer vinyl over CDs.
That's it. Yeah. It's the warmth of. If you go down the vinyl route, it's the warmth of sound from a record, and if you go down the visual route of film, it has a softness and a warmth to it.
Does it?
That digital is getting better, and part of the reason why I bought the Leica camera was that it is using really quality glass, but that the image that it renders at the end of the day is more like film than digital.
Is it?
But that's reflected in the price of the lenses, so, and it makes a vast difference. In the past, people would say you can tell a Leica photograph, and I would never believe them until I had one, and you really can once you've got one.
What are you paying for a lens then?
I bought a 35mm f2 Summicron lens, and it's about 20 years old, so it's designed for film, and
Yeah.
I paid
30 quid? 35?
£1,200 for it,
Right.
and
Yeah.
they're now going for £1,600.
Are they? Wow.
And then I bought later on I bought a 50mm f2 Summicron, and that was 1,600 quid. And
Yeah.
that's it. That's all I need. That's all I've got. But it's just it's the quality of the glass. They're second to none, and they've been going since the 1930s. Leica made the very first 35mm camera, so that's where all this came from. Leica, 35mm cameras, which that still is.
So they know what
The
they're doing.
35mm camera
Yeah.
all came from Leica. They made the very first one.
I
So
see.
that's history that comes from them. So you've got to think probably 75% of all the classic photographs that are made in the world were pretty shot on Leica cameras.
So do you find that that's pretty much the only camera you use now?
For my personal stuff I do. For my professional stuff I still use a Nikon.
Why is that? What's
Well, it's a DSLR.
right. Does it just
Where
make the
the-
whole process easier?
Yeah, where the
and quicker?
Leica isn't really designed for that sort of work. It's like a reportage camera.
Oh,
Because
right.
it's you're not looking through the lens, you're looking through a viewfinder, a rangefinder to the right hand side of it. So there's still conjecture whether he was shot by the boys or
Who? Van Gogh?
yeah.
Ah. Well,
It's
yeah,
a bit
it's
of a grey
still,
area, isn't it?
yeah, it's still hotly debated. Traditionally, the story is that he shot himself,
Right.
but there's a lot of evidence to suggest that he may well have been shot. So, yeah, pretty suspicious circumstances. Certainly.
Yeah. Wow.
Hmm. You ever tried to shoot yourself, Neil?
Not recently.
No.
Occasional
No.
self-portrait.
But there is a lesson to be learned there. If
Yeah.
you don't aim downwards,
No, my involvement with guns has been to the minimum.
well, let's hope it stays that way. Dixon likes to wield a...
I do like
I know.
Firearm,
I've fired a machine gun. I suppose that's.
Did you enjoy it?
It's good. It was exhilarating.
Excellent.
Hmm.
Glad to hear it.
I fired an AK-47,
Where did you do that?
and then I
Yeah,
fired an
camera.
M16 as well
Alright.
Where did you do that?
on a gun range in Hanoi.
Oh, this was on your Vietnam trip.
The first one I went to 25 years ago.
You've been there more recently?
Yeah, I went. A friend of mine was teaching English
Oh, yeah.
in Hanoi about 2016. He was there.
Hmm.
So he said, I'm here for a while, if you want to come over, come over. So I went and saw him, and he was out of town. I got a hotel in the old town, the old quarter in Hanoi, and he used to pop over and go out for and catch her a drink, and then
Go
I
shooting
went
M16s.
travelling. And I went, grabbed a flight and went to Luang Prabang in Laos,
Oh, yeah.
which was stunning. It's a religious.
Standing in what way?
It's a religious centre of Laos,
Oh, right.
and it's obviously Laos was occupied by the French. So Luang Prabang High Street is all kind of French shuttered buildings. And a
Oh, really?
Wide
Right.
boulevard, and behind that are all the Lao temples, which are still full of monks in saffron robes, running around all over the place and going to lessons in various places.
Yeah.
And then in the morning, when I was there, the hotel I stayed in was opposite a temple on the main drag, and the view over the temple from the room on the second floor was lovely. You had like a balcony, and they said, "Would you like a room at the back of the hotel?" And I said, "No, this is fantastic. That's a lovely view." And I wondered why they were asking me if I wanted a room at the back of the hotel.
Yeah.
I discovered the next morning is that you hear all the drums going bong, bong, bong at about 4 or 5 in the morning, and then all the monks would come out, maybe a couple of hundred of them, and people would be sitting on little stools outside with food for the monks, and the monks would turn up with these big wickerwork baskets. Maybe a couple of hundred monks would be in a row literally across the road from my hotel every morning, and people would feed them and give them rice and all sorts of food, and they would put it in their wickerwork basket, and they would give a prayer in return, and then they'd all walk off and have their food and their breakfast and go to their lessons. So I was woken up by about 200 or 300 monks outside my balcony every morning.
This is when you got to use your AK-7, was it?
Yeah, I managed to win quite a lot of money.
Yeah.
I managed to. No, that was the AK-47 was when I first went there in 1999. Was when I first went to Vietnam.
Professionally or just for the?
No, just as a trip.
Good job, was it?
Good job, yeah. Good hit. No, just travelling. I travelled from Saigon down, from Hanoi down to Saigon.
Right.
On train and bus and all sorts of things.
Yeah.
So the second time was a few years ago, so I went and saw Chris, and then spent a week in Luang Prabang just chilling, and then because it's a great place for breakfast, you can get the best baguettes in the world, because
Really?
because the French
Yeah.
cuisine was there, and it's still there quite a lot, so
It is. Yeah.
you could get fantastic coffee and really good French baguettes, the best I've ever had. So you'd sit on the street and have breakfast, and then go about taking pictures and just chilling out for the day. And I went back to Hanoi.
Changed
So,
much in the 20 years or whatever?
Oh yeah.
since
Well,
the
no,
last time?
when I first went there, you arrived and you got out on the street the first morning, and it was a sea of humanity on bicycles.
Right. Yeah.
Everybody was on bicycles, an occasional diesel truck pumping out gas as it came by. But everybody would be carrying, you get people, somebody would be a chimney sweep, and they'd have all the chimney sweep brushes in a crate on the back of their bike. And there'd be families going past on their bicycles with their family on, so they took the kids to school. There'd be a florist who'd be going by, and he'd have somebody would be growing big plants and taking them to a florist, so his bicycle would have plants all over it.
Yeah.
And somebody else was on his way to market, so he'd have 20 white ducks tied to his handlebars. And all this would be going past you. But this time, everybody was on scooters. Not many.
No, really.
All the bicycles had gone, and were all replaced pretty much. Well, there were still bicycles around, but it was replaced by scooters and other little cars. But they still would like to use two wheels transport, because it's the only way you can get around. If everybody was using cars, it would be in lockdown. But I don't know yet where to travel to at the moment.
Eastbourne's nice.
Yeah, Dover for the continent, Eastbourne for the incontinent.
Very good, very good. But what about Europe?
Well, I'd quite like to go to. I went to Italy twice last year, but I love Italy. So
Whereabouts?
twice to Milan. First time.
North. Yeah.
Yeah.
Milan.
First time was a friend of mine is a member of the MV Augusta Club, which is a motorcycle.
Oh yeah.
And they had a big MV Augusta weekend where they have a race, but it's from the museum, MV Augusta Museum, around a little town near a town square, and they race all the classic MV Augustas around this town square.
All right.
And it's sight and sound, which is wonderful. But we arrived on the Friday and went to down to Lake Majuri for lunch, and then we went for a factory visit to the MV Augusta factory, which is in an old seaplane factory which backs onto the lake, which is lovely. And then in the evening we went to Count Augusta's villa for a big dinner.
Did you?
This is all the clubs in Europe, all the MV Augusta clubs in Europe, so there's quite a few of us. And then the next day we went up and went to a very special guy who's makes custom racing bikes for MV Augustas, and he's sort of very well known. So we went there and then went to a private collection and then went for a huge great big dinner at the MV Augusta factory in the evening. And then the next day the race happened and we came home. But it was a great weekend. It was just all wall-to-wall red motorcycles. And then the next time I went was in November. And we went over for a day trip to Milan. There's a big vintage Italian motorcycle auto jumble.
Oh, right.
And we just went for that, for a nose around and buy any spares we needed.
Oh, right.
And then, so I would quite like to go and have a look around Sicily. Yeah, so there and Palermo and things like that. But the other half of me, I'd like to go back to Spain on a motorbike again. The roads in Spain for riding are just a dream.
Are they? Right.
But there's hardly any cars on the roads once you get out in the countryside. The roads are empty and they're really good roads.
Good surface.
So, and you're going all the way up through them, and you go through such a diversity of landscapes. Like when we arrived in Bilbao, and Bilbao is very green and very rainy and very alpine. And tipping down rain, it was like being somewhere in the Lake District. And then the next morning, later on that day, we got over the mountain range and the weather just changed completely. We got to Zaragoza in the evening, and we got out the other side of the Zaragoza, and it's where they used to film all the Good, the Bad and the Ugly films.
Oh, right, really?
So you're in Arizona.
Really? Cactuses
Absolutely
everywhere.
stunning.
Yeah.
Just desert area for miles.
Oh, really?
Incredible.
Yeah.
And then later in the day, the scenery changes again. And that's the way, just all the way through, it's wonderful. So yeah, riding in Spain, that trip riding in Spain was just wonderful. So I'd like to go and do that again.
So, which photographers have you admired over the years?
Well, Henri Cartez for definite. Steve McCurry, Henri Cartier-Bresson.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody's heard of him. But the first thing that ever got me interested in photography, I can't remember the name of the photographer at the moment, but it was do you remember the album by The Who, Quadrophenia?
Yep.
Well, the first thing that got me hooked on photography was the book that came with the vinyl album.
Right.
Do you remember it?
No.
Well, anyway, there's a complete book of photographs inside it, of about 30 photographs of the story of Jimmy and
Rings a
Quadrophenia
bell,
and things like that.
Rings a bell.
And they're 12 by 12 size pictures, and that really got me interested. And then the next influence was I got a book by a photographer called Ian Berry called The English.
Oh, yeah.
And he took a year off and documented England.
Oh,
And
yeah.
it's just a wonderful book, inspirational stuff.
Ian Berry.
Ian Berry.
Oh,
So
I
Ian
don't know.
Ian Berry, Henri Cartez, definitely are two of the main influences.
Have painters influenced your work ever?
Painters,
Photographer?
yeah, occasionally. Painters I like, who I discovered recently was
Revilliers.
Revilliers, yeah. Eric Revilliers,
Eric Revilliers?
yeah.
Never heard of him.
No?
Is he any good? No, I've never heard of
Fantastic.
him. Is he,
First World War.
Second
Eric
World War.
Revilliers?
Was he? I thought he was around in the second.
Well,
first.
but he might have been, yeah, he probably was. But he was commissioned to do paintings in the Second World War.
Oh, right.
But I came via the route of his son, James Revilliers, who was a photographer, who documented places in black and white. There's one particular painting of his that I really love. He painted it from a tiger moth,
That's
Yeah.
right,
and it's of hurricanes flying through the sky, and it has this lightness to it and colour and brightness of light that you really feel like you're flying up there.
Really, yeah. I'm just looking at
And there's
something.
another series that he was commissioned to do by the War Department just in 1939-40, and he had to go around and record all the chalk horses and the all the hillside chalk decorations. You know, like what is it? The Man of
Oh right.
The White Horse.
the White Horse and the whole lot. You know,
Yeah.
and because what happened was that they knew that when it was imminent war and they had to cover them all in grass. So he was sent around to document and record them
Otherwise
with
they'd
paintings.
be,
Otherwise, the
targeted.
Luftwaffe could use them as decoration. Navigation points.
yeah.
And he became a war artist.
Do you know how old he was when he died?
He wasn't that old.
39.
39. Yeah. He disappeared off of Iceland.
Yeah.
In
What?
an
What? You know what?
In an aeroplane
Was
or
that
a
what it
boat?
was?
In
In an aeroplane.
Yeah, yeah. But I love his work. There's quite a few books around. His son
Okay.
then his son became a photographer, but his son obviously never knew his dad very well because he died when he was very young. I'm a big fan of Toulouse-Lautrec.
Oh yeah.
I like his work.
Yeah. Yeah, he was quite skilled. Well, he died young as well, didn't
I
he?
know he did, yeah, but he
Drank
just
himself
is,
to death.
yeah.
Oh, was it drink or syphilis?
Syphilis, I
Both.
think.
They all had
He
syphilis.
was constantly drunk.
And
Um,
syphilitic.
But I
Yeah,
remember
he
seeing
was.
his work early on, and
Toulouse-Lautrec.
yeah, but it was just such a fantastic draftsman.
Yeah.
But the way sort of commercial photography's gone, there's not enough in it to really earn a living from these days. I had my time when I was really busy for quite
Yeah.
some many years.
What about risking your life in war zones, Neil? Why don't you do a bit of that? Does that appeal to you in any way?
I love the photographs that come out of it. I think things you've got to have been doing that for a long time to be. Plus the thing is they pay.
You're trying to excuse.
They pay
your-
bugger all for doing that now. So, you know,
That's
Really?
no excuse.
No, I don't think you've convinced that.
how much does it cost to risk your life?
I think we're nearly at a point where I'm going to leave it.
Okay.
Okay, what do you think, King?
No, I do really like it actually as a painting, I must say. I don't know what it's. I really genuinely don't know what it's supposed to be, but I just like the way it smells.